I'm now joined by the President and CEO of Vestas Wind Systems, Ditlev Engel. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio. Wow, that share price down by 20%. What were analysts not expecting?
Well, I think as we've said for all 2010, that we expected a back-end loaded year. And the reason why we are revising our forecast is simply that orders that we did expect to execute in the second half of the year are being postponed. But if there's any good news today, then it is that the yearly order intake of 8,000 to 9,000 megawatts is maintained.
Mr. Engel, how confident are you that actually these orders are being postponed and not cancelled?
We are very certain. We actually, in Q2 this year, got more orders than we did in the entire 2009. So I would say the financial crisis had a delay effect on our industry, and we are seeing it in 10 instead of in 2009.
But more orders, what, for 3-4 years down the line? So people are coming up to you and saying, yes, I do want to buy your product, but actually I just don't have the financing right now.
Well, it's a few specific markets where we see this impact in Spain and in Germany. We actually are going to have, as we are reporting a big loss in the first half, but we actually expect a significant profit in the second half, but not enough to catch the guidance for the full year.
Again, that share price down by 20%, how are you going to recover that? What do analysts need to hear from you today to reassure them a bit that actually you will get back on your feet very soon?
Well, I think you better ask the analyst about this, but in my opinion, first and foremost, we never comment on the share price, whether it's plus or minus. But I will say, I think if you look at where Vestas is standing in this market, I think actually Vestas is in a pretty strong position. And even though, of course, it's very disappointing what we come out with today, I would say if I look ahead, we'll actually add another 3,000 new jobs this year alone. So we maintain our capex and so on. So I would say it's not the first half year 2010 is really the financial crisis expressed in Vestas figures.
You've also actually lessened your hiring plans. Does that mean that you see the situation being worse on the longer term?
Well, it's more on a regional basis. Unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to some people in Europe because the postponement we are seeing here is actually related to Europe. So it's more on a regional level that we see the differences. So
exactly when do you believe that a lot of your clients will get the money and the funding from the banks, you were mentioning Germany and Spain, to go ahead and buy your products? Well,
I think they actually have the money. It's more a question of timing. And as I said, we do expect a full year order intake 8,000 to 9,000 megawatts, which is nearly 300% better than last year, but we are having the effect from the financial crisis from last year. And you know, 2009, we had our best year ever, where most companies were really struggling, and now we are getting it in 2010.
So what, getting back on track in the first half of 2010?
Well, in the first half of 2011, I think you are referring to, but I mean, we're giving our forecast for 2011 in Q3, and then we'll have to look at it there.
2011, of course. But if you actually look at, I mean, if I speak to you in a year and a half, are you going to have the full orders that you said you would? Is the economic situation actually going to get much worse, or are you confident that, well, this is numbers accounting, but actually you're over the worst?
Absolutely. I think in my mind, what we are going through now is the pain from all the things that did not happen in 2009. And this is why it's so important to focus on the order intake, which is expected to go up by nearly 300%. And that obviously will benefit us in the future. It will not help a very bad first half of 2010. So we're actually pretty confident for the future.
So despite the austerity measures, despite your share price actually down by 20%, you're telling me that you're pretty confident for the future?
Absolutely. I can say 12 months ago, we were looking into our best result ever, but we kept seeing orders not happening. 12 months later, we are actually seeing a lot of orders happening, but of course, it doesn't change the fact for the things that did not happen in the first half.
Orders where? From the emerging markets? I know you've had a couple of orders from China. Are they really going to pick up in the future?
Well, we are fortunate. You know, we're a global company. It's happening in many places. We just signed our biggest order ever in Australia with a new product we have just launched called the V112. We're seeing it in China. We've seen a breakthrough in the United States. So we're pretty confident that we are going to get back on track.
Is there anything that you could have done differently? I mean, I know you don't want to comment about the share price, but 20% is wiping off a lot of market value out of your company. Is there something that you could have done differently? Maybe told the analysts, maybe revised your forecast in the last couple of weeks?
Well, if there should be any regrets today, then I would say we were maybe too optimistic on what we expected we could execute in the second half of 2010, which we can see today we cannot. But I will have to say that even though this is not good enough, I will have to say that despite the financial crisis, we still expect a profit for the full year.
So does it mean that actually your forecast in the future will be much more conservative?
I don't know. To be very frank, we try to forecast as best as we possibly can, and basically what we're telling the market is what we're seeing internally, but this time we have to say we were too optimistic in the second half.
Mr. Ditlev Engel, thank you so much for joining us in the studio today, the CEO there of Vestas Wind Systems.